Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. So let us start with a new chapter, that is chapter number 25, where we'll be dealing with current, resistance, and what is EMF. So let us start, because as you all know that your quizzes are already started, or it is going to start from today. Do you have any idea on which date your UPM is there? Anyone?
So Wednesday it is starting.
Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's
Not
nice. Because today we'll try our best to complete as much as possible. And do you have any idea in particular on which date your on 4th Friday? Okay, fine. So we have today we can today, then on Wednesday, and then on Thursday. Okay, that's a lot of time we have in our hand, so we can easily complete this chapter. And moreover, I have already given all these PPT notes on the WhatsApp group, and please go through it, download it, and go through it. And because I will be a little bit fast this time, because we are always lagging behind other sections. So let us first don't waste our time, and let us start. Okay, chapter number 24. I haven't sent it. Okay, so use section 9. Okay, so you people most probably have sent me the email ID. Yes, you people have given me your email ID. So today, 24th chapter, I will be sending to you all. So don't worry about that. Go through the details, go through the problems, go through the test your understanding problem as well, so that you can do well. Okay, fine. So let us start with. eh? No, 25th. 25th chapter. Yeah. Okay, don't worry. I have sent you the PPT for this 25th chapter, and I am very much hopeful that I will also complete the course by Thursday. Okay. So please don't worry about that. And this chapter is not a very difficult chapter, quite an easy one. Okay, so let us start and see. So, as we all know that your current. So, till now you have been studying that current is nothing but the flow of electrons. Okay, well and good. That is a correct definition. But the real definition is current is any motion of any charge. Okay, current is the flow of charge from one point to the other point in a conductor. That's it. That means your charge may be positive, may be negative. But the problem is that most of the time we always define this current as the flow of electrons. Even though the definition is correct, but it is not general in nature. Why it is not general? Because current can also be defined as the movement of positive charges. Now, usually what happens, these positive charges are quite massive, or rather I will say heavier in comparison to your electrons. Secondly, the electrons are present in the outermost orbits, and therefore a little bit force applied to this will break the electron from the orbit, and they will become mobile. So these are the basic two reasons why usually the electrons become more mobile, much more mobile than that of your positive charges. Therefore, most of the time when I am going to apply a potential difference, or rather I will say an electric field inside a conductor, it is the electrons which are very prompt in the movement. That is why you can say the electrons, when it flows in a conductor, it is going to constitute a current. But the real definition says that if it is a positive charge or it may be a negative charge, if it is going to move inside a conductor from one point to the other, then it is going to form current. But as I told you, these positive charges are heavier and they are much more inside the atom, and therefore they are not quite mobile. Therefore, we say that the electrons constitute the flow of current. I hope everybody have understood it. So please note that current is nothing but flow of positive charge or negative charge. But the thing is that positive charges are not very mobile, whereas your negative charges are more mobile, much more mobile than that of your positive charges. And therefore, usually we say that current is nothing but the flow of electrons. Now, in order to create a flow of charge, what we actually need? So, as you people know that current is nothing but the flow of charge. Now, do you know there are multiple number of, till now you have been dealing with only one type of current, but the truth is that current is basically of three types. Okay, current is of three types. Does anybody have any idea what are the different types of current? Yes, can anybody tell me? Okay, none of you? Okay, let me tell you. Your current is usually represented by the symbol I, and it is actually of three types. Conductor or metal conductor. Okay. The usually we all till now have been dealing with this conduction current. The other type of current is known as your convection current. Okay. Now, what is this convection current? This convection current is the current which actually flows through non-metallic, or rather I will say which flows through insulators, which flows through some insulating material. Okay. For example, suppose there is thunderstorm. So you all know that when thunderstorm takes place, it is nothing but the phenomena is like this. The clouds, because of their movement through the air, they used to accumulate a lot of negative charges on the outer surface of the cloud. Okay. Now, obviously, if the negative charges are accumulated on the surface of the cloud, obviously, this is at a very high energy state. And every time I have told you that every particle in this universe always tries to be in a least state of energy. So what this cloud will try to do, it will try to discharge itself and bring itself to a lower value of energy. So what it will do, it will strike, or there will be a striking which is accompanied with the flow of electrons from the surface of the cloud to the ground, because the ground is at zero potential. So naturally, in this way, the electrons on the surface of the cloud is discharged to the surface of the ground. And while these electrons are moving through this lightning path, it actually constituting a current. And this type of current has a special name known as convection current. So till now you have studied about the two types of current. One, the current that is actually flowing through the conductor when you are applying a voltage. The second one is the current which is actually flowing through the air or vacuum because of this lightning and other stuff like this, or sometimes from the sun some corona discharge takes place, and in this process also they used to liberate some positive charges to the atmosphere, to the space. In this way also it is going to form a convection current. And the last one, which you will also learn in this syllabus, is the displacement current. Okay. So what is this displacement current? This displacement current is very interesting phenomenon. Displacement current, the definition says it is the current which is actually going to flow through a field. For example, we have already studied about the capacitor. Okay. So look over here. Suppose I have a capacitor over here. The capacitor is going to have two number of conductors, and in between the two conductors, I am going to have an insulating medium. Okay. So when I will charge the conductor like this through a battery source, you will see that this is a closed circuit. Okay, consisting of a battery consisting of a capacitor as the load. Now what happens when this is taking place? You will see that I can write the current to flow in this circuit in this manner. Okay, so this is the source which is giving the potential difference, and there is a capacitor which is behaving like a load. So you all know that current flows from the source to the load. So the direction of current will be in this way. Now, but there is a very interesting thing. The interesting thing is that, okay, in a capacitor you are having two number of conductors. Okay, well and good. These conductors are capable of carrying the current. But what about the insulator? The insulating material is actually not going to allow the flow of electrons. So naturally the current should not flow. But if we look carefully, we will see that the current I is actually flowing through this entire circuit. Now everything is well and good, but the problem arises when we reaches this dielectric medium, because this dielectric medium is nothing but an insulator, and insulator is going to block the flow of electrons. Then how it is actually flowing? So over here, what actually happens is that up to this conductors, the conduction current used to flow. Suppose this is the positive conductor of the capacitor and this is the negative conductor of the capacitor. That means the current from the positive terminal of the source will flow up to the positive terminal of the capacitor, and this current is known as the conduction current because it is flowing through conductors. Similarly, from the negative terminal of the capacitor till the negative terminal of the battery, the current is also flowing through the conductors. Again, this is your conduction current. But what is actually going to take place inside this dielectric medium? Inside this dielectric medium, as you all know that the dielectric medium is inserted or it is placed inside the electric field. So when the current, this conduction current meets the dielectric medium, or rather I will say when the conduction current meets the electric field, it flows through that field. But now it is not like the conduction current, rather it is known as the displacement current. So in other words, we can say displacement current is the current that flows through an electric field. So as you people know that current can flow through conductors, it is known as conduction current. Current can flow through air or vacuum, it is known as convection current. And the last one is the current can also flow through an field. So the field may be an electric field or it may be an electromagnetic field. So in both the cases, the current can flow through it. And this type of current are known as displacement current. Okay, and we will study about all this displacement current in detail in chapter number 32 when we will deal with electromagnetic waves. Okay, now but in this chapter we will only limit our discussion to conduction current, that is the current that is going to flow through conductors. Now how the current is actually going to flow inside a conductor. Remember, whenever we want the current to flow in a conductor, we must apply a potential difference. Okay, that means suppose let us say here I am having this conductor. Okay, so the conductor is having two ends A and B. So you can see easily in this diagram. So only when I will apply a voltage or potential difference across these points A and B, then only this conductor will be capable of carrying the current, or there will be movement of electrons in a particular direction, thereby constituting a current. Now why it is taking place? Now when we are going, first let us try to see what happens when no potential difference is applied across the ends of a conductor. Now when no potential is applied across the, or rather I will say no potential difference is applied across the two ends of the conductor, no electric field is created inside the conductor. Okay, now you all know that in order to create an electric field inside a conductor, I require to apply potential difference across the end of the conductor, because we have already studied that your potential difference is going to create an electric field inside a conductor. Now, suppose I have not applied any potential difference across the two ends of the conductor, obviously what is happening, there will be no electric field inside the conductor. And when no electric field is there inside the conductor, but the electrons will still continue to move, but they will move in a random fashion. Now this, let us say, suppose this is one of the electrons which is present inside this conductor. So what is going to happen? Now, because of the ambient temperature that this conductor is gaining, because of that, these electrons will gain some kinetic energy and these electrons will move randomly in all directions. Okay, that means suppose the electron was at point P1, then it will move in a haphazard manner randomly in P up to P2. Similarly, after some time it will move in a zigzag manner and will be at the place P2 dash. That means the position of these electrons is random, you cannot determine it. That means if there are multiple numbers or n number of electrons present inside the conductor, then all these electrons will move in random manner, resulting in the net movement to be zero. Okay? That means we can ultimately say that if the net movement of all the electrons inside the conductor is zero, then obviously there is no movement of electrons in any particular direction, and therefore it is not going to constitute a current. Is it okay? Everybody understood this concept? Yes?
Yes,
Or is
sir.
there any doubt? Okay, fine. Next, okay. So in the previous case, we learned that when we are not going to apply any potential difference, the electric field inside the conductor is zero, and therefore all the electrons are moving randomly in all possible directions, such that the resultant displacement of electrons or movement of electrons is zero. Now, when I am going to apply a potential difference across this conductor, what is actually going to happen? Let us see. So over here I have another conductor, and what I will do is that I will apply a potential difference across this conductor. Well and good. So I applied this. So when I applied this potential difference VAB across the two ends of the conductor, the first thing that will happen is there will be a creation of electric field inside the conductor like this. Okay. So obviously, if the positive terminal of the source is connected to this side, then this will also become positive and this will become negative end of the conductor. And you all know that electric field starts from the positive end and terminates at the negative end. So your electric field is going to be directed in this manner. Now, what is going to happen to the electrons? So, we all have studied that whenever we are going to place an electron inside an electric field, then it is going to move in a direction opposite to that of the electric field. Okay. So, if I am going to place the electric field in this manner, the electric field is directed from positive to negative, and I am going to place an electron over here, then obviously the electron will start moving in this manner from the negative terminal towards the positive terminal. Well and good. So all the electrons which are present inside it will always try to move in a direction opposite to that of the electric field. So now we can say that all the electrons are directed in a particular direction. So if they are directed in a particular direction, so obviously what is going to happen? There will be a net movement of electrons. So if there is a net movement of electrons, then obviously we can say the flow of electrons now starts. Now, okay, now let us come over to this point once again. So when we are applying an electric field, suppose let us say I am applying an electric field in the vacuum, and in the vacuum I placed one electron. So what is going to happen? The electron will definitely be experiencing a force which will try to make it move in a direction opposite to that of the electric field. Now, because of the continuous application of this force, what is going to happen? These electrons will try to accelerate and they will try to move inside the field at a very, very high speed. And that speed is actually comparable to the speed of light. That means they will be moving at a speed something around 10 to the power 6 meter per second. Well, that is in the case of vacuum. But is it the same when we are dealing with an electric field and electron in a conductor? No, the scenario is not like that. Why? Because in case of electrons placed inside the electric field of a conductor, inside the conductor, these electrons obviously they will be experiencing a force, the force of the same magnitude as that in the vacuum. but the problem is that they cannot accelerate to a very high speed. Why? Because in case of this conductor, all the atoms are closely packed. For example, suppose this is a copper conductor. So in case of copper is solid and therefore all the atoms are closely packed to each other. So when an electron in the outermost orbit is detached and because of the field it is trying to move from the negative terminal towards the positive terminal, obviously what it is going to do, it is going to collide with the electron or the atom which is just in front of it. Now because of this, what is going to happen? Its speed is going to be limited. That means it is not going to move at a speed of light. Rather, the speed is going to be too much less. And that speed is of the order of 10 to the power minus 4 meter per second. And this speed is sometimes known as drift velocity of the electron. That means, obviously, if it were vacuum, the electron would have moved at a very high speed of comparable to that of light. But inside a conductor, the speed of the electron is very, very less. It is of the order of 10 to the minus 4 meter per second. Just imagine how slow the electrons are moving inside the conductor. So ultimately, that speed is known as a drift velocity. Drift means shifting position one after the other in steps. So from that only we can get an idea that the electrons are going to make very small movement inside the conductor. And since their movement is very small, therefore the velocity of these electrons is also very small. Just imagine that the case is very similar. When suppose somebody is going to drive a bike on a plain highway where the traffic is almost negligible, then you can drive at a very high speed, let us say 80 kilometers per hour. But if you are moving in a very congested area, narrow lane with a lot of traffic, naturally your speed is very much decreased because you want to avoid collision. Now in case the case is very similar to that of a conductor. In conductor, when you are applying a potential difference, an electric field is created inside the conductor. Because of this electric field, the free electrons will try to accelerate and move at a very fast speed. But the problem is that when they will try to accelerate and move at a very shorter distance, they will be colliding with a atom or electron in front of it. And in this way, the speed is decreased, the overall speed is decreased, and this speed or is rather known as drift velocity. So we can say, even though the electric field is applied, the movement of electrons, individual movement of electrons is very small or very less. So at least we can say, even though the speed of the electrons is less, but still then their movement is unidirectional. That means almost all the electrons are going to move at drift velocity in a particular direction. So when there is a movement in a particular direction, then the net movement is not equal to zero. And when the net movement is not equal to zero, we can say there is a flow of electrons. And therefore, we can say when we are applying a potential difference across the conductor, an electric field is created inside the conductor, and this is going to constitute the current in the conductor. Is it okay? Everybody understood, or is there any doubt? Okay. So this is how actually the current is going to flow. So always remember that whenever I want the current to flow in a conductor, I have to apply a potential difference across the ends of the conductor. Because of the potential difference, an electric field is created inside the conductor. When the electric field is created inside the conductor, the electrons will move and they will move at drift velocity and their movement will be unidirectional. Since their movement is unidirectional, therefore we can say there is a flow of electrons. So if there is a flow of electrons, in other words, we can say there is a current in the conductor. Thus, we can conclude that when a potential difference is applied across the conductor, an electric field is established due to which flow of electrons takes place, constituting a flow of current in the conductor. Now, so as I told you that when field is there inside the conductor, the electrons move in a unidirection. Okay, that means over here we will now analyze the direction of current. Okay, now let us first look. There are actually two directions of current involved. One is the actual direction of current, and the other one is the conventional direction of current. Now, this conventional direction of current is the one which we use in our day-to-day life. Okay. So, whenever I will tell you that the current is flowing from this point to this point, I actually mean the conventional current, not the actual current. So, now let us see what is the difference between both of them. Now, as the definition is given, actual current, direction of current is the flow of electrons which move against the direction of electric field, that is from positive to negative side, okay, inside the conductor. But in the circuit, it is from lower to higher potential. Now just let us see what is actually meant by this actual direction. Now everybody just look at this circuit. So here I am in this circuit, I am having a source, and this source is actually creating the potential difference over here across this load or across this conductor, okay, and the load. Suppose this is the point and this is the point. Across these 2 points the potential difference is VAB, okay. Now because of this, what happens, this is the positive side and this is the negative side. Now, obviously, what is going to happen is that the electron, the field is directed from this positive side in the conductor, and the field is going to be directed in this manner, okay, from the positive to the negative side. Now, the electrons on the other hand will always move against the electric field. That means the electrons will start moving in this direction. As you can see the direction of the electrons. So these electrons will try to move from the negative terminal of the source to the positive terminal of the source. Okay, so this is the actual direction of current. That means over here, if we will see, we can say the current is actually starting from the negative terminal and is terminating at the positive terminal. Well, this is actually what is happening in the circuit. Now, if this is the case, then in other words, we can say that the current is flowing from the lower potential to a higher potential. Yes or no? Because you see, the electrons are actually starting from the negative terminal of the EMF source and it is moving against the electric field. That means it is moving in a direction from the negative side of the battery to the positive side of the battery. Or in other words, the current is actually flowing from a lower potential to the higher potential. Now this is ridiculous. Why? Because till now every time we have studied that current flows from a higher potential to a lower potential. Well and good. There is nothing wrong in what we have already studied and what we actually seeing as the direction of current. So this is actually known as the actual direction of current. But the actual direction of current is actually violating one thing, and that rather it is not violating, it is rather creating a confusion that the current is flowing from the lower potential to higher potential. Now, if I will in place of, if by somehow I can say, because already I have defined that current is nothing but flow of charges, either it will be positive charge or negative charge. Now, if this is the case, now instead of this negative charge, let us consider the positive charge. If I will consider that the positive charges are actually going to move and constitute the current, then our problem will be solved. How? Because we know that positive charges move from the positive terminal, the positive side of the conductor to the negative side of the conductor. So you see this case. So over here, this one is positive and this side is negative, and the positive charges are going to move in this direction. Okay. Now the movement of the positive charges is also constituting current. Now in this case, we can very easily say that the current is moving from higher potential to lower potential. So this case in particular is actually fulfilling all our definitions. That means movement of positive charge is nothing but current. Okay. Now the positive charge is starting from positive side of the conductor to the negative side of the conductor, or we can say the current is flowing from higher potential to lower potential. So this is actually known as the conventional direction of current, and this is the current that we use in our day-to-day life. Okay, whether it is engineering or normal in terms of normal people's word, that the current is going to flow from positive to negative. So in this way, this is known as the actual direction of current, and every time whenever we are solving problems or doing anything related to this, it will always be considered to be flowing from positive side to the negative side. Is it okay, or there is any sort of problem? Is there any doubt? Okay. So, a conventional current is treated as the flow of positive charges regardless of whether the free charges in the conductor are positive, negative or both. So, conventional current is nothing but the flow of positive charges. Now, how we are going to mathematically define this current? Okay, the current will be defined as the net amount of charge. Okay, the net amount of charge crossing a particular area per unit time is known as your current, and mathematically it will be defined as dq by dt, or simply you can say total charge q by total time t, doesn't matter, same thing. That means, suppose let us say I am having a conductor over here. Suppose let us say this is a conductor of uniform cross-sectional area. Now I am interested for this particular area. Now I will see how much charge is actually crossing this unit area per unit time. Suppose the total charge crossing this particular area is equal to q in time, let us say t, then your q by t is all known as your I. Okay, so I is nothing but it is q by t, or rather I will say dq by dt. That is the change of, or the net change in the flow of charge divided by the net time. So in a differential form we used to write I is equal to dq by dt. Okay. Although another important thing over here. Now, even though we know that when current, the direction we are going to consider the actual direction of sorry, the conventional direction of current. Okay, but when the concept of direction arises, we always know that if the current is having a constant magnitude and it is having a direction, then it will be a vector quantity. But I have already told you from the beginning that current is never a vector quantity. Okay, current is actually not a vector quantity. Current can be two types. Either it will be a scalar quantity or it will be a phasor quantity. Okay. Now first let us try to understand what is the direction of current, because every time we have been using the direction of current. What is that? Now direction of current, we cannot say that current is a vector, because a current carrying conductor, suppose the current carrying conductor is in this, is like this. Suppose here I am applying the positive voltage, or it is connected to the negative side, and this conductor is in this manner, it is having a zigzag shape. Then in this case the current is flowing in a very zigzag manner along the length of this conductor. So in this way I can say the direction of the current cannot be determined. Okay, but still then we used to say the current is flowing in this direction. What does this direction actually means in case of current, even if it is not a vector quantity? The real thing is that we always say the direction of current is from a higher potential to a lower potential. Okay, so when we are referring to the direction of current, we are actually referring that the current is moving from the positive side of the source to the negative side of the source. And here also I am having another resistance. Suppose let us say this is 1 ohm, or rather I will say 2 ohms. This is 2 ohms and this is 2 ohms. Okay. So what is the net resistance of the circuit? It is equal to 1 ohm. So the total current that is going to come out is 12 ampere. 6 ampere will flow in this direction and another 6 ampere will flow in this direction. Okay, fine. So just look over here. In this particular loop, you are seeing that the current is moving in the clockwise direction. And over here, I am using the word direction. So here it is in the clockwise direction, whereas in this case, it is anti-clockwise direction. So whenever we are talking about the direction of current, we actually mean in which way the current is flowing in the circuit, whether it is in the clockwise direction or in the anti-clockwise direction. Or we can say whether the current is moving from the positive terminal of the battery or the negative terminal of the battery. Now let us see another case. Suppose let us say I am having a battery over here. Let us say this battery is 24 volt. And over here I am having a resistance and I am having another battery over here, and let us say this battery is 2 volt. This battery is 2 volt, this is 1 ohms. Now we always know that current is going to flow from the will flow from the positive terminal of the battery. Okay, so the current is moving out from the positive terminal of this 24 volt battery. But over here for the 2 volt battery, it is going inside towards the positive terminal. So in this case also we can refer it as the direction of current. So we can say for the 24 volt battery, the current is moving out of the positive terminal, whereas for the 2 volt battery, the current is moving towards the positive terminal. So moving out and moving towards is also referring to the direction of current. So always remember that when we are actually referring to the direction of current, I actually mean to say whether it is moving from positive side to the negative side or from the negative side to the positive side. That means or towards the positive side or outward of the positive side. Number one. Number two, in a network or a circuit, whether the current is moving in clockwise direction or anti-clockwise direction. So in these cases, we make use of this direction, but by itself, the current is not going to have any direction. Now, so if it is not going to have any direction, then how we can define this current? So remember that your DC current is a scalar quantity. That means it will have a magnitude, but it will not have any direction. Whereas your AC current is a phasor quantity. It is definitely going to have a magnitude, varying magnitude, as well as it is going to have a varying direction, but the variation is in a cyclic manner. And therefore it is categorized under a third category known as phasor quantity. So we will talk about this phasor quantity in chapter number 30 and 31. Is it okay for you all? Everybody understood? Or is there any doubt? Okay. I know I am going a little bit fast, but I have to go because your exams are approaching and we have to finish our syllabus before that. So anytime you have any doubt, please point it to me. I'll clear it. Moreover, I have also given the notes. So please go through it in your free time in your home. And whenever you are having any sort of doubt anywhere in the class, you can very well ask me to clarify it. Okay. Now, so till now we have studied what is current. I have told you current is of three types. Out of those three types, we are only discussing about the conduction current. That is the current through the conductor. So first thing we learned is that only if we are going to apply a potential difference across a conductor, then only the current is going to flow. Why? Because an electric field will be created and there will be net movement of electrons and therefore there will be a current. Next, we learned about the direction of current. There are two directions. One is the actual direction of current. The other one is conventional direction of current. Actual direction of current is actually the flow of electrons. But the problem is that in that way, we are defining current to be in the direction from lower potential to higher potential. Therefore, we are rejecting that thing. Rather, we are making use of this conventional direction of current. That is, the flow of positive charges from higher potential to lower potential. Next, we came to know that current is itself not a vector quantity. Why? Because in a wire, the wire can be having a zigzag form, and in that way, the current is also going to follow in that zigzag manner. Therefore, it is not a vector quantity, even though it has a constant magnitude. So rather, when we are referring to the direction of current, we are actually meaning whether the current is moving from higher potential to lower potential, or whether it is moving towards the positive terminal or out of the positive terminal, or whether it is flowing in the clockwise direction or anti-clockwise direction in a circuit. So these are known as the direction of current. The last thing that we studied just now is DC current is considered as a scalar quantity, whereas your AC current is considered as a phasor quantity. Now we'll talk about this current, what is the drift velocity, and we'll introduce another important concept, that is your current density. Okay, so we all know that whenever we are going to apply a potential difference across a conductor, an electric field is going to be created inside the conductor. So when the field is created inside the conductor, the free electrons inside the electric field will experience a force which will try to move it at the speed of light. But this is not going to be possible. Why? Because in case of a conductor, the atoms are very closely packed. Therefore, this electron, even though it will try to move, just when it will try to move, it will go and collide with an atom or another electron or positive charge or a neutron, whatever it may be, which is in front of it. So in this way, the electron is actually not going to move, rather it is going to drift its position step by step. And the speed at which the electron is going to move is very, very less, of the order of 10 to the power minus 4 meter per second. And this is known as your drift velocity. Now, we can also express the current by this, we can express this current in terms of your drift velocity. And this is quite an important expression, because from this we will also derive another very, very important concept related to current, that is your current density. So first let us try to bring out a relationship between your current and your drift velocity. Okay. Now, in order to derive that, let us have a look at this particular diagram. In this diagram, you can see this is a closed circuit. So closed circuit means in that circuit there will be a voltage source, there will be a load, and the voltage source and the load will be connected by means of conductors. Okay. So over here, as you can see that I am having a source. And over here, this source, from here the positive charges are going to start. Okay, now these positive charges will move. Let us say let us consider that the positive charges are moving over here. Okay, it will be easy for us to understand. So the positive charges will move from the positive terminal of the battery, and they will move along the direction of the conductor, and in this process they will be moving. Now, let us consider a very small portion of this conductor, magnify it, and see what is actually taking place inside this conductor. Okay, since as I told you, this side of the conductor is positive and this side is negative, therefore the electric field is directed as shown, from the positive side to the negative side of the conductor. Now these positive charges, because here I have considered a little bit hypothetical condition, that is the positive charges are moving and constituting the current. Now, as I told you that the positive charges are going to move in a direction along the electric field. Now, I will take a very small portion of this conductor and I will consider this cross-sectional area A. Okay. Now, in time dt, okay, if the velocity of each of these electrons is equal to Vd, where Vd is the drift velocity of the particles. Now, if Vd is the drift velocity of the particle and I am going to consider for a very small time interval, then within this time interval, they would have crossed a distance of Vd into dt, because we know that speed into time is equal to the distance covered. So in this case, the distance that is covered within this small time interval of dt is equal to drift velocity into dt. Now, if A is the cross-sectional area, then I can say the volume that these particles have crossed within a very small time is equal to Vd dt into A. That is the volume of this small cylinder that the electrons have covered. Now, over here, I will define another term N. Okay, so you can see there is a term N, small n over here. N is equal to the moving charge particles per unit volume. That means in a unit volume, there are n number of positive charges present. Rather, I will say the concentration of positive charges in a unit volume. Now, since these unit volume of or n number of charges are moving, therefore in time dt, how much particles would have moved out of this surface area? It would be the total number of charges that are present in the unit volume multiplied by the volume of this small cylinder that we have considered. So in that case, n is the total number of particles per unit volume multiplied with the volume is actually going to give you the total number of particles that have moved out of the surface of this dt. Okay, now if each of these charges or particle is carrying a charge, then I will multiply this with dq, or I will multiply q, that is the charge of each particle, so that I will get the total charge that has covered or that has crossed this unit volume. Okay, so this will be na, that is n is the number of particles per unit volume multiplied by the volume. The volume is a d v dt into dt. So this is the volume multiplied with n, and next I will multiply q, that is the charge of each of these particles. So in total I can say the total charge that has flown or that has moved from the surface of this A, okay, in time dt is given by this expression. If anybody is having any doubt in this expression, please ask me. Yes, is there anyone who is not understanding this concept? Yes? Is there anyone? Okay. Okay, fine. Now, so ultimately I can say dq is equal to q whole into n a v dt into dt. Okay. Now over here I can see one interesting thing. I know that I is equal to dq by dt. Okay. Now if I will take this dt over here and place it under this dq, then I am going to get I. So ultimately I can write I is equal to dq by dt, dq by dt, and this is going to be equal to n, that is the total number of particles per unit volume into the volume, that is a v d dt into q multiplied with q. So this is the expression of current in terms of your drift velocity. Ultimately, you can see over here that we have derived this expression of current. We have derived this expression of current in terms of drift velocity. Now, why we have derived it? Actually, the main purpose is not to derive the expression of current in terms of drift velocity. Rather, we are interested for the next term, that is your current density. So, what is current density? Current density is nothing but the current per unit volume. What is that? Now, suppose let us say that this is a conductor. Okay. Now, a current is flowing uniformly throughout the entire cross-sectional area of the conductor. Now, over here, let us say that I want to find what is the amount of current that is actually going to flow in this unit cross-sectional area. Okay. So I can say the current density J, current density is having a symbol J, and J is equal to the total current that is going to pass through a area, unit area A. Okay. So over here, I can write I is equal to dq by dt is equal to nq vdA. Now A is present over here, so if I will bring this A under to this I will get a J. So ultimately the expression boils down to J is equal to nq vt. Okay. Now, let me tell you one thing. Here, I have considered the positive charges in order to derive the expression of I and J. If I will consider the negative charge, am I going to get the same expression? Yes, I am going to get the same expression. Let us see why is it so. Now you see, suppose I will write the equation for I. Okay. Now I is equal to nq, and over here, since I am going to consider the negative charges, I will consider minus q. Okay. The velocity over here, the velocity is in which direction? It will be against the electric field. So over here, I will consider it as minus Vd. I consider it as minus Vd into A. And over here, you can see that minus minus gets cancelled out to again result in a positive expression. Similarly is the case over here. Here if I will replace this q by means of minus q and this vd by means of minus vd, then I am going to get the same expression. So in order to simply write down the general expression of current, rather than writing plus q plus vd minus vd, I'll rather write it as I is equal to dq by dt is equal to n, the modulus of q vda. Similarly over here, J is equal to n modulus of q vd. Why modulus? Because every modulus value is going to be positive. Okay. Now, what are the important things associated with this current density? Okay. So one by one, let us try to see. The first one, current is a non-vector quantity, whereas current density is a vector quantity. Yes, it is a vector quantity. Now let us see how it is a vector quantity. Now you can see that over here, just look over here. Here I have considering the current to be flowing in this direction. If the current is in this direction, I have to take the area in this direction as well, because I have told you that area is also a vector quantity and its direction is considered taking into reference the direction of the quantity which is accompanying this A. Here I am considering the current to be flowing from the left to the right, and therefore the area is considered from in the direction of the current. So in this way, I can say your current is not a vector quantity, whereas your current density is a vector quantity. In other way also I can prove it. Just look over here. Here J is equal to I by A. I don't know whether it is AC current or DC current, so therefore I cannot say whether it is phasor or it is a scalar. But I know that A is a vector quantity, but vector division is not possible. So I will not consider this expression. Now look at this expression. Okay, N is the number of particles per unit volume, which is a scalar quantity. Modulus of Q is again a scalar quantity, but your drift velocity is a vector quantity. So when a vector quantity is having a scalar coefficient, it is always considered as a vector quantity. So ultimately I can say your J is a vector quantity. Okay. Over here I, you can see over here in case of I, this is scalar, this is scalar, this is vector and this is vector, and both of them are dot product. And if this is the case, again your I is going to be a non-vector quantity. Whereas in case of J, your Vd is a vector quantity with n and modulus of q as the coefficient. Therefore, this is going to be a vector quantity. So one thing is very sure, that current is non-vector, whereas your current density is a vector quantity. Number two, current density describes how the charge flows at a certain point, and the vector's direction tells the direction of the flow at that point. Whereas current describes how charge flow through an extended object such as a wire. Very simple thing. Now this current, when I am talking about current, I actually mean how the charge is actually flowing through the entire length of the wire. Whereas when I am talking about current density, I actually mean to talk about the current density at a particular location P. So at the point P, I will consider a cross-sectional area and I will see how much is the current crossing that cross-sectional area at the point P. So this is going to describe how the current is flowing at a particular point in the wire. Whereas your current is going to describe the total flow of current through the entire length of the wire. So there is a difference between the idea behind them. Next, your modulus of J, that means the magnitude of J can vary throughout the length of the line, whereas the current is going to remain the same. Now let me give one example to explain you. Suppose let us say I am having a 2 mm square length wire, 2 mm square. So this is a 2 mm square length area wire, and let us say it is connected to another wire. It is joined to another wire of 1 mm. So obviously, if a current 3 ampere is flowing, then the 3 ampere will flow in the 2 mm square wire, as well as it will also flow in the 1 mm square wire. And throughout the entire length of this current is going to remain the same. That means 3 ampere will flow through this conductor, 3 ampere will also flow through this conductor. So the current is going to remain the same throughout the entire length of the conductor. But the current density is obviously going to change. So obviously in this case, the current density is going to be around 1.5 into 10 to the power 4 into 10 to the power 4, whereas in this case it is going to be 3 into 10 to the power 4 ampere per meter square. So this is the difference between your current and current density. So the current density is going to be different at different location of the conductor, and this varies because of the variation of the cross-sectional area of the conductor. So there is a problem, but we don't have time. So in the next class, that is on Wednesday, we'll try to complete this chapter in total, if possible. If not possible, on Thursday we'll complete it. But by the time, you people please go through the entire slides, and if you are having any doubt, please ask me in the next class. Okay? So we'll conclude our class over here. Is anyone having any sort of doubt? We still have 1 minute to clear it. Yes? Okay, fine. Thank you. Okay.
Good afternoon, all of you.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Your class is over? So we are discussing generics in the last class. Let me set the screen first. Check if the screen is visible to all of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we are discussing generics. Okay, so generics, it is basically used to provide a general method. Okay, in general method in order to write our programming. Instead of having different data type रहता है. And if the logic is same for, I think if the logic will be same for more than one type of data type, then we are, instead of declaring the data type, we are declaring it as generic. So in the last class, you are asking me about the keyboard input, isn't it? Here it is, and this one is the example. I am just showing you all. So this is the generics one. So in generics हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? We need to define the type within the angular bracket. Okay, and instead of the data type, here we are going to write T. Okay, that symbolizes the type. So it is converting from the base different type of data that we are going to provide here. So in the main function, this is TC, and here the swapping code it is being written. In main function, whenever we are going to call the method, यहाँ पर हमें क्या put करना है? We need to provide the variable. So according to the variable, it will change the type and it will perform the which operation? It will perform which operation?
Swapping.
It will perform the swap operation and you will get the result. So in the last class also we are discussing about the generic method print array, where we are going to input different type of array and we will get the output. So here again within the angular bracket the type is specified TA, and it is depends on the user which type of input it is providing. So यहाँ पर क्या लिखा गया है? Here we are taking a different type of value. One is integer, this one is double, character value, and accordingly we will call the method in order to print the A. It will print the integer array. B, it will print a double array. C, it will print a character array. So in order to print the integer array, here the array is being declared as integer A equals to new integer, where here integer it is the class type. ये class type है instead of object type. In generics we are basically defining the class type. Integer A equals to new integer 5. So input value करो. Here you are going to input the base type value. Automatically वो object type का convert होता है. So this process is known as auto boxing, when it is automatically converted from base type to object type. Okay, again it will pass to the array. यहाँ पर object type से again base type convert होता है, and the process is known as unboxing. So it will show you the result. When I will run the code, it will ask you to input the value. As the size of the array here is 5, it will take 5 values. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So next it is printing the integer array. Next one is your double array, and the last one is your character array. Okay, the process of converting the base type to object type is known as auto boxing, and from object type to base type is known as unboxing. Okay. How to take user input? Are you clear? Asutosh?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is one example. Open the board first. So what we are discussing again in the last class, I have started something called wrapper class, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I will not go in detail around wrapper class. Just no, you just remember 2 to 3 points, because in generics we are basically using the wrapper class concept.
वन और हम एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं दैट एंडेवर इस साल और ये 840 करोड़ रुपए
Just a minute. Okay, we are here, I think. So, note down. Wrapper class. I will not go in detail regarding wrapper class. Just write down few points on wrapper class. It basically provides the conversion of basically used to convert the primitive type into object type and object type to primitive type. Okay, so these are the wrapper class for the primitive type, this one. Okay, do you have noted this one, the number of types of the wrapper class for different base type?
No, ma'am.
So note it down. So the different wrapper class for the base type are, this one is integer, for base type is int, character, the base type is char, next one is your boolean, base type is your boolean, then double, it is the wrapper class, base type is your double, float, it is the wrapper class name, base type is your float. Okay, for byte again, byte, the base type is byte. Okay, these are the number of wrapper class you are having with you. So next point, write down the process of converting the base type to object type is known as auto boxing, and the process of converting object type to base type is known as unboxing. Okay. I will show you one example. Just note it down. Are you noting it down?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh.
Ma'am, for short and long, the object type is there or not?
Huh. For short and long, it is also there. For short, this one is, and for long, okay, these are the wrapper class.
Okay, ma'am.
This one is example. Check it here, all of you. Integer type के लिए हम लोग क्या लिखते हैं? INT A is equals to 20. So it is of which type?
Base type.
It is the base type. Now, let here I am going to declare a variable integer j. अब ये कौन सा टाइप का हो गया बताओ तो?
Object type.
It is object type. Now here I will assign a. j is equals to a. तो a कौन सा टाइप का है?
Base type.
Base type है. And j is our object type. So check what are the values here you are getting. So when I will run the code, यहाँ पर क्या आ गया? What are the values? J equals to 20 and A equals to
20.
20. So it is known as your auto
Boxing.
So I can write here in this way also. So you will get it better. Integer within bracket यहाँ पर A. Just not taking, okay. It will take value of, okay. Integer dot this one. Integer dot value of, it is another method. We can write in this manner also. A. Okay. Either we can write integer j equals to A, or we can write integer dot value of A. So when I will run the code, यहाँ पर देखो. So this process is known as your
Auto boxing.
auto boxing. So just remember this, instead of this entire line, we are writing j equals to A. Okay. This part is your auto boxing. And the process of unboxing here, I'm just noting it down. integer x is equals to and let me check why it is showing error. This line int z is equals to x. Okay. System dot out dot println x is equals to plus z. यहाँ पर क्या वैल्यू आ रहा है देखो, what here you are getting x equals to
3 and z
z
is
is equals to
3.
3. So this process is known as your
Unboxing.
this process is known as your unboxing. Okay, it is converting the object type to base type. यहाँ पर एक warning आ रहा है, just ignore this warning. Okay, are you clear with the auto boxing and unboxing? So what is happening here? यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है? What is this thing? ये array of क्या create हुआ है? What here you have created?
Array of integer.
Array of objects. So here you are entering the value. ये value कौन सा value गया है? Which type of value you have inputted?
Integer.
Integer type. So whenever I am just calling the function, यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है? Integer means base type से कौन से type को convert हो रहा है?
Object type.
Object type. Then यहाँ पर ये हो गया auto boxing. Then यहाँ पर object type से कौन से type को convert हो रहा है? Here it is just showing the value. So it is showing from object type to base type. It is unboxing. So whenever you are going to use the generic concept, we are always going to use which class?
Wrapper class.
Wrapper class. Instead of the base type, we are going to use the wrapper class for the case of generics. Truptiman? Truptiman, do you have any doubt? Okay, so this is one example. Should I go with another example?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just check. I'm just going with your assignment question. Let me show you the question first. Now read out this question. What is written here? Write a method using generics to count the occurrence of an element in an array of any type. The signature of the count method is given below. So here the signature of the Q. Okay. So what is asking to you? यहाँ पर क्या पूछा गया है? To count the occurrence of an element in the array. So check the program here. हाँ, count करना है. So how many times a particular element is occurred in the array? You need to count it. अगर integer array होगा, then you are going to count the occurrence of the integer. मतलब if the value is 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, if it is an integer array, and here you have written in this manner 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here you are going to count the occurrence of 1. So 1 का occur कितने बार occur हुआ है?
2 बार.
2 times. If it is 2, then it will return 2. So if it is an character array, if you are having a character array, you are going to count. So A, B, C, D, A, E, D. So if you are going to enter the character A, you are going to count how many times A occurred in the array. तो तुम्हें उसके लिए क्या लिखना है? What you need to write? दोनों के लिए अलग अलग प्रोग्राम लिखोगे? Are you going to write two different program for the two different to count the number of occurrence in two different type of array?
No, ma'am.
Or we should go with the generics one. So it is asking to you to count the occurrence of an array. So the definition is already given to you, public, static, and here I am just writing the count method, void count. तो हमें input क्या करना है? Let if I am going with the integer array a, comma, int x. So as we are going to count the occurrence of the character. Public static void main string args. Okay, so यहाँ पर बताओ what we need to do here. Tell me the logic how we are going to count.
We will create a variable count.
अब क्या लिखेंगे? What we are going to do? Equals to
X.
x. Then
C++.
which value we need to update? C++. System.out.println count is plus C. So here we are going to input which one array? A equals to, that I have declared one static array. Okay. So I will call the method count A, then 1. So it will print the count of 1 here is
4.
4. So if you are going to declare it as in general, तो यहाँ पर क्या करेंगे? Instead of int, what we are going to write?
T.
So I am showing you the easiest way how you are going to write your code. It is will be integer, so it will be as it is. Yeah. Then this one will be integer. Now here, if you are going to declare one character array, count C comma A, put it in single quote. So this is your code. Are you clear? Are you clear, all of you?
Yes.
Okay, note it down. तो यहाँ पर क्या आ गया देखो तो, व्हाट इज हैपनिंग हियर?
Compilation.
Why it is compilation error?
And because S is string.
हाँ, and this L1 is your, ये जो मैंने L लिखा है ये कौन सा टाइप का हो गया? Character. So it is giving us a
Character type.
character type. So error आ गया. Okay, so here the data type, अगर इस टाइप के प्रोग्राम को करोगे then इसे क्या कन्वर्ट करना पड़ेगा? You need to convert this one is to string type and this one is of another data type. Okay, basic particularly for this example. Okay, यहाँ पर क्या लिख रहा है? Change method count t to count string and character. Okay, यहाँ पर दो generic टाइप तुम्हें डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा if you are going with the string and character comparison. Okay, do this one. If you are defining a double array, then how you are going to write it? Then count here d comma 1.1. Your quiz are from Wednesday, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so note down this program. Have you all completed this one? Have you all completed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if you are going with the string and character, then यहाँ पर क्या करना पड़ेगा? What you need to take? You need to change to two different data type. Okay. यहाँ पर दो different data type लोगे, then यहाँ पर क्या करोगे? Here you need to input string and, देखो ये सबके लिए काम करेगा. It will work for this one, but for the specifically string and character, this अगर यहाँ पर दोनों में t लिखोगे, it will not work. You need to go with two different data type. String s is equals to, my string is hello. और यहाँ पर हम लोग कॉल क्या करेंगे? count. This one is my string s comma L. Again, it will show us error because your L is of which type? L क्या है? What is L? L का टाइप क्या है?
Character.
Character type है. But here S is of which type?
String type.
String type. So it will वो typecasting नहीं कर पाएगा. Okay. It will be difficult to find out the character in the string. तो हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? Either we are going to convert it to the character type और L को हम लोग string type में भी लेंगे तो भी नहीं होगा. It will not work for this string type. Okay, because we are going to search for a particular character here.
मैम वो स्ट्रिंग की वजह से एरर आ रहा है क्या?
हाँ, वो स्ट्रिंग के वजह से एरर आ रहा है. Okay. So we can't go with this one. उसे हमें कन्वर्ट करना पड़ेगा. Either एक को स्ट्रिंग टाइप में और द कैरेक्टर टाइप. Okay, you just note on them according to your question. Occurrence of the elements, because in generics basically the wrapper classes are this one for the basic data types, and string itself is a class. We don't have any base type for the string. Have you all completed this one?
Yes.
Okay. Next, write down wrapper class. Sorry, generics class. This is about your generics method. Next one, write down generic class. Next heading, write down generic class. Just I'm going to show you how we are going to define a generic class. Generic class. A class that refer to any type is known as generic class. Okay, so for generic class, again we are going to use this type T parameter. So the syntax for the generic class here is class keyword रहेगा. You are going to write the class name and followed by the type parameter. Okay, and here within the bracket यहाँ पर जो भी define करोगे, you are going to put here type parameter, then the value or instance variable name. So a method if you are going to write here is let the method void or return type method name, then type parameter, then the object name. Okay, and here the method definition. Okay, so this is how we are going to write for the generic class. So this one is the syntax. Let me go with one example. Okay, here I am going to define one class followed by the class name. Okay, let my class name is generic एग्जाम्पल, उसके बाद हम लोग को क्या स्पेसिफाई करना है, व्हाट आई नीड टू स्पेसिफाई द टी एंड ओपनिंग ब्रैकेट. सो यूजिंग दिस वन, यहाँ पर ये कैपिटल होगा. Just a minute. Just a minute. I'm muting my mic. Okay. So let here we are going to provide the value. Here this dot A is equals to A. And in order to display the value, we can write here void display, okay, system dot out or println. So while creating the object, just remember this point, while creating the object, what you need to write, यहाँ पर क्या लिखोगे, क्लास का नेम. व्हाट इज द क्लास नेम हियर? जेनेरिक एग्जांपल. सो बिफोर डिफाइनिंग द ऑब्जेक्ट क्या लोगे? लेट माय ऑब्जेक्ट नेम हियर इज ob1 इक्वल्स टू न्यू. ये कंस्ट्रक्टर डिफाइन करोगे. यू आर गोइंग टू डिफाइन द कंस्ट्रक्टर, बट हियर यू नीड टू डिफाइन द डेटा टाइप ऑल्सो. यहाँ पर तुम्हें डेटा टाइप डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा. एंड यहाँ पर जो डेटा टाइप दोगे, इट विल बी द नेम ऑफ द wrapper class in this manner. New integer. Now ob1 dot input then next method here is display. Okay, your main flow method will close here. Okay, so are you checking how I have written the class generic method name or a class generic and the method definition?
मैम ये जो डेटा टाइप पे रैपर क्लास वाला, मैम वो कौन सा किस स्पेसिस पे आप लिए, इंटीजर या फिर कैरेक्टर हम किस बेसिस पे लेंगे?
वो तुम्हारा प्रोग्रामिंग के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है. अगर तुम्हें ऑथर डिटेल्स देना है, ये मैं एक जनरल एग्जांपल दिखा रही हूँ. नेक्स्ट वी विल डिस्कस वन स्टूडेंट डिटेल. ओके
मैम इधर जो ए है तो इंटीजर, मतलब यहाँ पे तो कुछ होता नहीं है ना वैसा, मतलब
हाँ, वी कैन टेक एनी टाइप. अगर तुम एक इंटीजर और एक डबल लोगे तो यहाँ पर क्या डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा? हियर यू नीड टू डिफाइन टू. एक इंटीजर टाइप हो जाएगा, दूसरा यहाँ पर क्या हो जाएगा? दिस वन विल बी डबल टाइप. तो यहाँ पर क्या लिखोगे? ओके, यहाँ पर दिस डॉट b इज इक्वल्स टू b and again here space, this one is your b. तो यहाँ पर कितना वेरिएबल तुम्हें डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा? दो. एक इंटीजर हो सकता है, अदरवाइज इंटीजर एंड स्ट्रिंग भी हो सकता है. हाँ, एनी इंटीजर स्ट्रिंग, डबल स्ट्रिंग, ओके, एनी वैल्यू यू कैन हैव विद यू.
मैम इनपुट 10, मैम इनपुट 10 के जगह फिर इफ यू राइट हेलो,
हाँ,
हेलो की जगह यू
फिर हेलो यहाँ पर स्ट्रिंग, इट विल शो अस एरर दिखाएगा.
मैम बट
क्योंकि
इसमें जेनेरिक्स में फर्क नहीं पड़ता है ना, हम अगर कोई
नहीं,
मतलब क्या बोलते
यहाँ पर नहीं, यहाँ पर फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, बट लेकिन जब भी तुम एक ऑब्जेक्ट डिफाइन करोगे, तुम जिस ऑर्डर में यहाँ पर डेटा टाइप मेंशन किए हो, द ऑर्डर द यू हैव मेंशनड हियर, ओके, अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट पर्टिकुलर ऑर्डर यू आर गोइंग टू इनपुट द वैल्यू।
ओके मैम।
यहाँ पर जिस ऑर्डर से तुमने डिफाइन किया है, ये TA है, XB है, तो यहाँ पर मैंने क्या लिख लिया, इंटीजर एंड स्ट्रिंग। अगर यहाँ पर इंटीजर स्ट्रिंग है तो तुम्हें इंटीजर एंड स्ट्रिंग इनपुट देना पड़ेगा, अगर स्ट्रिंग इंटीजर होता देन दिस विल वर्क। ये चीज का कुछ डिफरेंस नहीं।
पहले वाले
हाँ, पहले वाले
used to pass any number and वो irrespective of its data type वो accept करता था।
वो accept, हाँ, वहाँ पर हाँ बता रही हूँ। यहाँ पर हाँ, यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है, यहाँ पर तुम मेथड डिफाइन किए हो, कोई क्लास डेफिनेशन नहीं हुआ है, तुम ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट नहीं कर रहे हो, मेथड कर रहे हो, वो ऑटोमेटिकली क्या हो रहा है, बॉक्सिंग अनबॉक्सिंग हो रहा है, ठीक है। लेकिन यहाँ पर हम लोग ने क्या किया है, यहाँ पर मैंने क्लास डिफाइन किया है। क्लास डिफाइन किया है मतलब यहाँ पर जो डेटा टाइप मैंने इंस्टेंस फील्ड क्रिएट किए हैं वो अकॉर्डिंगली ये फील्ड क्रिएट हुआ है। जब मैंने ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट किया, व्हेन आई एम क्रिएटिंग द ऑब्जेक्ट, तो ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट करते टाइम मैंने क्या किया, डेटा टाइप को स्पेसिफाई कर दिया कि पहला जो वैल्यू होगा वो इंटीजर टाइप होगा, दूसरा क्या होगा,
स्ट्रिंग
टाइप होगा। तो मेमोरी लोकेशन में उस टाइप का स्पेस क्रिएट हो गया। सो जो भी पहला इनपुट जाएगा वो इंटीजर जाएगा, दूसरा इनपुट क्या होगा, स्ट्रिंग इनपुट होगा। तो इसीलिए यहाँ पर दिक्कत हो रहा है।
मैम तो फिर जेनेरिक क्लास का फायदा है क्या, हम तो नॉर्मल क्लास में तो ऐसे डिफाइन कर सकते हैं ना।
जेनेरिक क्लास में हाँ, ये मैं तुम्हें एक एग्जांपल दी हूँ। जेनेरिक क्लास में यहाँ पर मैंने एक जनरल टाइप डिफाइन कर दिया, यहाँ पर मुझे एक वैल्यू चाहिए इंटीजर और स्ट्रिंग, मैं इंटीजर स्ट्रिंग ले ली, मैं और एक प्रोग्राम और एक इनपुट चाहिए, वही मेरा दो वैल्यू ही लेगा, लेकिन वो इंटीजर स्ट्रिंग नहीं होकर स्ट्रिंग और इंटीजर होगा, या फिर फ्लोट और डबल होगा, कोई डिफरेंट टू डेटा टाइप का वैल्यू मैं स्टोर कर सकती हूँ। ओके, सो हाँ, यहाँ पर ये देखो इंटीजर स्ट्रिंग है, तो यहाँ पर मैंने 10 और हेलो दे दिया, हेलो हो गया। तो अब मैंने और एक ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट किया है उसी क्लास को लेके, दैट इज नॉट पॉसिबल विद द जनरल वन। यहाँ पर मैंने एक डबल टाइप ले लिया, दूसरा वाला मैंने ले लिया इंटीजर टाइप। अभी क्लास का नेम मेरा क्या है, व्हाट इज द क्लास नेम, द सेम नेम,
यस मैम,
बट आई एम डिफाइनिंग हाउ मेनी टाइप्स ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट। एक ही क्लास टाइप में कितने टाइप के ऑब्जेक्ट मैं स्टोर कर सकती हूँ,
मोर देन वन।
हाँ, मोर देन वन टाइप ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट। सो ये हो गया मेरा दूसरा वाला। यहाँ पर मैंने इनपुट अभी क्या क्या ले लिया, ऑब्जेक्ट 2 डॉट इनपुट, तो एक जाएगा मेरा डबल का वैल्यू जाएगा 10.1 एंड दूसरा कौन सा वैल्यू जाएगा, इंटीजर, इट इज 4। दूसरा मेरा क्या, ये देखो, तो अभी कितना वैल्यू आ रहा है, एक ही टाइप क्लास डेफिनेशन में हाउ मेनी वैल्यूज इट इज एक्सेप्टिंग, हाउ मेनी डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ वैल्यू,
3 different
टाइप वैल्यू लिए। ओके, दिस इज द एडवांटेज ऑफ योर जेनेरिक क्लास। नहीं तो पहले हम लोग स्टूडेंट क्लास करते थे एंड बाय डिफॉल्ट हमें उसी क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट करते थे, देयर वी नीड टू प्रोवाइड ओनली स्ट्रिंग नेम देंगे और क्या देते थे, वन एक नेम लेते हैं, दूसरा रजिस्ट्रेशन नंबर लेते हैं। तो अभी हम लोग ने एक अरे डिफाइन कर दिया है, क्लास टाइप है अरे, तो अगर मैं चाहूंगी इंटीजर टाइप का इंटीजर अरे क्रिएट कर सकती हूँ, डबल चाहूंगी डबल अरे बन सकता है, फ्लोट चाहूंगी फ्लोटिंग अरे बन सकता है। देयर इज अरे लिस्ट, ओके, इन और जावा वो जेनेरिक टाइप है, तो उसमें तुम लोग कोई भी टाइप का इनपुट दे सकते हो, इंटीजर दे सकते हो, कैरेक्टर दे सकते हो, फ्लोट दे सकते हो, डबल दे सकते हो। ओके, किसी टाइप का भी वैल्यू लोगे वो क्या करेगा, स्टोर करेगा। ओके,
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, we are not going to have a detailed discussion on this. Just have an overview of it. So this is how we are going to declare a class generics. Are you clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone having any doubt in the class generics? Okay, so ये एक simple example दिया गया है. This one is question 4. It is one of the simplest question. Okay, you just try this one. I will share with you this question. ये question 4 बनाना. Anyone having any doubt here in class generics? Because I don't want to discuss any things further also. Do you have any doubt here? Should I move? हाँ बोलो.
मैम एक बार ऑटो बॉक्सिंग और अनबॉक्सिंग वापस से समझा दीजिएगा.
ये देखो ऑटो बॉक्सिंग एंड अनबॉक्सिंग है. ये क्या है? इंटीजर ए क्या है? व्हाट इज ए? कौन सा टाइप का है? प्रिमिटिव टाइप का है.
यस मैम.
ए में 20 दिए, ठीक है. प्रिमिटिव टाइप का मेमोरी लोकेशन में कहां पर स्टोर होता है बताओ तो. जेवीएम के कौन से लोकेशन में वैल्यू स्टोर होता है? इन विच मेमोरी? इन हीप मेमोरी और नॉन हीप एरिया में? डू यू रिमेम्बर?
नॉन हीप मेमोरी.
नॉन हीप मेमोरी. ऑब्जेक्ट कहां पर स्टोर होता है? इन हीप मेमोरी.
यस मैम.
ओके, सो ऑटो बॉक्सिंग एंड अनबॉक्सिंग क्या है? हाउ वी आर गोइंग टू स्टोर आवर वैल्यूज. इंटीजर a इक्वल्स टू 20 हो गया. a क्या है? बेस टाइप है, नॉन हीप में स्टोर हुआ. यहाँ पर क्या हो गया? j इक्वल्स टू a. अभी a क्या है? a इज विच टाइप? बेस टाइप मीन्स योर प्रिमिटिव टाइप.
यस मैम.
प्रिमिटिव टाइप से तुम यहाँ पर क्या कन्वर्ट कर रहे हो?
ऑब्जेक्ट टाइप.
ऑब्जेक्ट टाइप मतलब मेमोरी लोकेशन कहां पर स्टोर होगा वैल्यू? हीप मेमोरी में.
यस मैम.
ओके, सो दिस इज हाउ इट इज परफॉर्मिंग. वो जो बेस टाइप से primitive, this one is your primitive type. From primitive type to it is converting the object type. So this process is known as your auto boxing. Okay, and unboxing is again the reverse. ये क्या हो गया? X क्या है? It is the object of which type? Integer type object. तो यहाँ पर वैल्यू कितना दिए हो कंस्ट्रक्टर यूज करके? हम what is the value you have initialized? 3. ओके, इंस्टेंस फील्ड में 3 आ गया. वो ऑब्जेक्ट टाइप से यहाँ पर कौन से टाइप को कन्वर्ट कर रहा है?
बेस टाइप.
बेस टाइप. ओके, सो दिस इज नोन एज योर अनबॉक्सिंग. ये कहां पर यूज होता है? तुम्हारा जावा में कलेक्शन क्लास एक है. यू विल लर्न व्हाट इज कलेक्शन क्लास इन योर नेक्स्ट सेमेस्टर. ओके, कलेक्शन क्लास है. कलेक्शन क्लास में क्या होता है? वहां पर प्रोग्राम बनाना बहुत ही सिंपल है. हमें इंटीजर के लिए क्या करना पड़ता है? व्हाट वी आर डूइंग. इंटीजर के लिए क्या कर रहे हैं? इफ वी नीड टू क्रिएट अ इंटीजर अरे, तो मुझे क्या करना पड़ता है? इंटीजर टाइप का अरे क्रिएट करना पड़ता है. ओके, इफ वी आर डूइंग कैरेक्टर अरे के लिए हम लोग ऑपरेशन करेंगे तो हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? कैरेक्टर अरे डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा. ओके, लेकिन मैं ऐसे कुछ स्पेसिफिक अरे नहीं बनाऊंगी. तुम्हारा एक अरे लिस्ट है. देयर इज अ अरे लिस्ट इन जावा. वहां पर तुम जो भी टाइप का ऑब्जेक्ट बना सकते हो. ओके, आइदर इंटीजर ऑब्जेक्ट, कैरेक्टर ऑब्जेक्ट or your string object, कुछ भी string नहीं, float object or your double object. So just a minute, let me so array list में क्या होगा? तुम किसी भी टाइप का अरे बना सकते हो with the help of array list. Okay, there you can store any type of value. Okay, that is the advantage of using which type of programming? Generics. तो वो सब कौन से टेक्निक को यूज करके बनाया गया है? जेनेरिक्स. जस्ट आई एम शोइंग यू हियर. मैं यहाँ पर बस एक एग्जांपल दिखा देती हूँ. यहाँ पर एक लिस्ट है. ओके, जस्ट हियर आई एम क्रिएटिंग एन अरे लिस्ट. ये लिस्ट हो गया मेरा स्ट्रिंग टाइप इक्वल्स टू. सो अगर हम लोग क्लास टाइप का डिफाइन करेंगे, सो इट विल बी इजियर फॉर अस टू हैव इट. न्यू अरे लिस्ट. ओके, ये इन जनरल टाइप है. I don't have it. Okay. Java.util .star. ये देखो, ये मैंने क्या डिफाइन कर दिया? अरे लिस्ट. आई हैव डिफाइंड अ लिस्ट ऑफ विच टाइप? ये स्ट्रिंग टाइप का मैंने ले लिया. ओके, यहाँ उस लिस्ट में ये क्लास है. लिस्ट इज द नेम ऑफ द क्लास. उसमें एक मेथड है. सो द मेथड नेम हियर इज ऐड. देखो यहाँ पर आ रहा है ना सारे मेथड का नाम. सो यहाँ पर मैंने एक नाम लिखा. हियर आई एम जस्ट एडिंग वन नेम. अगेन name dot add. And I'm just adding few names here. ये हो गया एक लिस्ट. So if I want to print the value, अगर मुझे ये value print करना है, so what I need to write? Simple for loop can be used in order to print the value. यहाँ पर देखो, what are the value here it is printing?
Yes.
Okay, so name आ गया. So now suppose here I want to create one list. So the list it is of type. अब ये कौन सा टाइप का हो गया? Integer. Okay. So here I am just showing you one example. This you are going to learn in your next semester. These are coming under your collection class, I think. यहाँ पर add. Now here 10. Again here I will have another value. Dot add 20. Okay. I dot add. This one is 30. Okay. System dot out dot println. And here I will print the values of I. So what are the values it is showing?
10, 20, 30.
10, 20, 30. तो ये सब क्या हो गया? What are these things? ये क्या है? List क्या है? It is the name of the class. I it is ये क्या है? Object है. Okay. जब मैंने print किया, okay, it is just printing those value. तो in general list क्या बना है? List is of which type?
Generic.
ये लिस्ट जो है, एक बार लिस्ट में कौन सा वैल्यू स्टोर हुआ है? स्ट्रिंग वैल्यू. दूसरे टाइम में कौन सा वैल्यू स्टोर हुआ है? इंटीजर वैल्यू. तो लिस्ट ये कौन सा टाइप का है? It is a generic type. Okay, so that is the advantage of using generics. Are you clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, these things you are going to learn in your next semester. So I am not giving entire focus on this one. You just have a overall idea how we can create a method generics and how we can create a class generics, that much. Okay. Anyone want to ask any other question? Can you do with this one, class generics? Okay, these are the some predefined classes that are provided under which package?
Util package.
Util package. So with the help of generics, you can create your own generic class. Okay. So to have that can be used in your different programs also. Are you clear?
Yes, ma'am.
बस डिफरेंट एक ही लॉजिक है लेकिन डेटा टाइप क्या है डिफरेंट हो रहा है देन तुम लोग क्या करोगे व्हाट यू आर गोइंग टू डू इंस्टेड ऑफ राइटिंग डिफरेंट मेथड फॉर डिफरेंट डेटा टाइप यू आर गोइंग टू डिक्लेयर अ कॉमन मेथड एंड दैट मेथड इज नोन एज योर generics method or a common class that is known as your generic class. Okay, that is the only advantage of generics. Okay, any other doubt? I think we have almost completed the object-oriented programming concept. So from next class onwards, I'm going to start with the data structure and algorithm. So first we will learn to analyze the algorithm. Then we are going to start with the recursion. Okay. So introduction to data structure. What are the things that we are going to discuss? I think I have discussed in the very beginning, first class, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So we are just going to start with the analysis of algorithm. What is algorithm? How we are going to analyze the algorithm? Okay, simple techniques are there. Again, I am not going to go in depth or in detail. I think you will have your class. Okay, we are not going to go in detail. Just have an overview because again you are going to learn algorithm analysis in your 4th semester. We are just going to have a brief introduction on it. Then we will move to data structures and algorithm. Recursion के बाद linked list. Okay, that's all for the today's class. Thank you all.